Hi, Gregg Perry, the historic preservationist. Welcome back to the wood shop. We're doing a few things here. We got limited space sometimes and a lot going on. This is our George Fix clock we started a few weeks back. What I found was, at this point, I was hoping a couple weeks ago to be taking this guy apart, putting it in the cleaner, letting it sit there for a bit, and then each part I was going to work on by hand. But what I found was it's so totally seized up. It's oxidized, it's rusted a little bit, right into place. It's like mated with the brass surface. None of this moves. So what I did was I used some of the CRC power lube. I virtually never do this, but I've never seen a movement this bad as it is. And what was happening is sometime if you try to take a mechanism apart like this, where the pivots are in the plate and they're oxidized right there. There's a bond that's going to form. I know brass doesn't rust, but there's a bond that's going to bite the pivots. And here I'm trying to take it apart. I don't want to bust any pivots. So I hit the whole thing with some CRC like this. I'm not going to put much on here because I've already done it. And I did enough to loosen it up. There's movement now in all these. There's just a tad bit of movement in all these right now. Right there, there's a little bit of movement. But there's so much over oiling and dried grease on here. I don't want to stick this into a $70, I don't want to ruin $70 worth of cleaner to clean this guy. And I'm not sure I can totally clean this by hand. I may need some ammoniated help. It may go in for a very short time. Typically, I'm not going to do this for an 18th century movement. But so this is very atypical. So the process, what we're doing, using some of the power lube, and it's something with a very small molecules. It's going to get in all the nooks and crannies and try and break the pivots free so we don't break anything. And it's been sitting overnight. I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it in a bucket, a plastic bucket with lacquer thinner. And I want lacquer thinner to take some of the dirt off of this, take some of the grease, some of the oil, so I don't totally contaminate a whole pan of cleaner. So that's where we are right now. So I have my lacquer thinner. I'm going to pour it in a bucket, and I'm going to set the movement in the bucket. And I also want to add one of my colleagues in Great Britain, and I'm sure anybody who's into clocks or horology in general watches, knows Laurie Penman. Laurie Penman's written several books. I haven't seen Laurie for a few years, maybe 10, 12, 15 years. But Laurie does something interesting. He feels that this movement's been working, who knows, 50, 100, 150 years. Maybe this has not been apart. The pinions and the wheelwork has worn together. He wants to try and determine right from the beginning, is there any other problems? Will this clock run? He usually will take a movement in this conditioner, not quite as bad, and submerge it totally in whatever kind of oil he does, a very light oil. And he'll leave that in there for a few days. It'll loosen itself up. He'll put it on a rack, and it'll be dripping, and then he'll put weights and a pendulum on it. And if it gets going, then you find, wow, okay, so there's no real problems with this. Then he'll go ahead and disassemble it. And again, he'll mark where every mating surface is, where the great wheel meets the next pinion. He'll get in there with a fine scribe and put them so the mating is exactly the way it was, because it's like a couple that have been married for 50 years. I mean, they walk and talk the same time, they do the same thing. So that's what he's trying to do. So, but that's totally something different. That's his, and he gets criticized for that sometimes, and he gets some accolades for it. So we're not doing that here. We're just trying not to break anything. So what I'm going to do is stick it in the bucket. We're going to leave it in here for a few days, try and get some of this grime off. And before I put it into the cleaner, I'm going to pull the cable off, and we'll look at this next time. We'll actually pull it out of here and start disassembling. So I'm going to put it down into here. And we have some other lacquer thinner we're going to put in. We got a couple gallons. And I'm going to, obviously, this is just cleaning lacquer thinner, so I'm going to reuse this. I'll tilt it so that you can see it in the camera. Kind of nasty stuff, but I mean, I can see it getting dirty already down at the bottom. So this is a heck of a lot cheaper than our cleaner. So after we're off the video, I will. But anyway, you can see. So she's floating around there. So we'll see what we get off this. I'll put a couple more gallons after the video. But anyway, so we're pushing forward with the clock. It's put me back a couple weeks because we're trying to videotape a lot of this, and but we'll just take it slow. We're in no rush with the George Fix restoration, whether it be the case or the mechanism or the dial. Gregg Perry signing off. Thanks all for viewing.